right now at this point I'm going to have my voice over with some typing text and loads of images and definitions for you to kind of get a little understanding as to what the internet version of secondhand means, and I guess what generally people think of secondhand. The truth of the matter is that I probably won't even be wearing the same outfit as I am right now by the end of this video. But this is what I'm wearing right now. Deal with it. Now, as you can see by the title of this video today, it's a concept that we're going to look at is the stigma with secondhand. I'm not singing in the rain. This is actually the umbrella from this light that I'm just trying to see if it makes me look nice, makes me look rubbish, or whatever. I thought last time it looked like I was in Gotham City a bit, so I just want to keep doing this as well. Let me not distract myself. Let's get to the point. So there's two kind of words that we need to decode here, and that's secondhand and stigma. So stigma kind of means an associated terminology that people have based on something that they know. The stigma with Benidorm is that you will find loads of British people drinking beers and eating burgers and fry-ups. That's probably a stigma that has Benidorm. But is Benidorm all like that? Probably not. I guarantee you didn't think that Benidorm was somehow going to creep into a video about secondhand clothing, but nevertheless it did. So let's keep going. But I'll give you my personal perspective on what I think the overall census of stigma is with secondhand. And I come from a place where people focused on the vintage stigma more than the secondhand. Like, vintage is a byproduct of secondhand. So overall, most of the time people think that with secondhand it's been used, it's disregarded, somebody else didn't want it. However, I will say some markets with secondhand are actually booming, like the car market. So it definitely has weight that the secondhand market isn't just for done out stuff. See, with the microphone I can stand wherever I want. I don't have to move the camera, I can just move me. I think one of the biggest things about secondhand stigma that people associate it with, like I say, stuff that's used, one of the ugliest words to refer to something secondhand. Just for reference, pre-loved to me almost seems like you're trying to over-polish something. That's personally why I've always used secondhand, because I'm just saying it how it is. It is the secondhand. There's so much complexities to what secondhand really means in different areas and aspects, but to kind of like not overcomplicate it and not make this an actual hour seminar video, I'm going to try and condense as many main points as I can. The biggest stigma with secondhand, in my opinion, is the perspective that most people actually have on new. Okay guys, for those that just like buying new stuff, hopefully this doesn't offend you, and if you want to throw and shed some light down in the comments with what you think about my opinion so far, please feel free to do so. The comment section is open for you boys and girls, yeah? In certain areas, new things are needed. For example, like, you're not really going to buy second-hand underwear. I mean, that's not my thing. I'm sure that's not your thing. And if it is, that's cool. We can all be different. But realistically, where I want to try and dumb down on and kind of focus on is the concept and the misconceptions that people have about new and how that really affects the stigma of secondhand. Most of the people that buy new items would look at secondhand as a disregarded thing, and that is the stigma that's built up because of what they consider as new and the value that that has. Once an item has been worn by one person, it can be you, it can be whoever, it's essentially secondhand. Tell me it's not secondhand. If somebody else has worn it, it has literally been on somebody's body, and there is no difference for a secondhand item being washed and restored to as best as new condition and quality. I literally just want to kind of break down the stigma that secondhand has and how I think new clothing, new items, and the new market plays a big role in that stigmatization. Word of the day, Mr. Light, stigmatization, yeah? Remember that for the edit. Okay, so far what have we done? We've talked about what secondhand really means and the online version of its stigma, and what other people typically think. You know, I'm not one of those people that goes, 5 in 100 people said that secondhand was awful. Because statistics are based on very small geographical locations most of the time, and the numbers aren't totally accurate, and they definitely don't represent the overall thesis of people, you know what I mean? The people thesis, the pieces, people this. Little people this dance. Never doing that again. Probably will do it next video, but it doesn't matter. Sven, how do we actually combat what people think about secondhand based on what they consider as new? And in all honesty, camera and everybody else that's watching, it's just totally about breaking down the understanding of what new really means and kind of closing the gap on how secondhand is different to new. If I bought an item 10 years ago and I loaned it to a friend, I loaned it to somebody else, and it came back like a boomerang. Somehow it came back to me 10 years later. I don't know how. Say it came back to me. And I washed it and restored it and there were no overall marks. How is it totally different to buying a new item. The main factor is time, because 10 years ago is when I bought the item and it's 10 years later. It's obviously been worn by different people, but realistically, what is that thing where people have a problem with somebody else wearing something?
I didn't clear up this point on the video, so I just want to make this clear. Basically, what I'm getting at here is that a lot of the stigma around secondhand clothing is that people always focus on the fact that it's been worn, used, like worn by somebody else. But get this example, right? When you go to a restaurant and you use a knife and fork, do you think those knife and forks have been used by somebody else before you? And if the answer is yes, then you already know what I'm going to say. Anyway, back to the video.
I'm going to open like many cans of worms right now. There's like worms running everywhere. It's like an I'm a Celebrity busted trial. Realistically, what's the problem with something being secondhand? When we just take a minute to think about what secondhand actually means and how it's beneficial to not use more resources to make more new things that are worse quality anyway, most of the time, if you're not buying organic cotton or, you know. I'm not Al Gore, this is not a climate control speech, but I'm just a 30-year-old who's worked in this industry for almost longer than I haven't, and I've saved a lot of items and understood a lot about what I've saved so far, and I think that realistically, one of the biggest things to combat is people's understanding of secondhand in relation to how that affects with new. And I think one of the big things that you've got to kind of look at right now is that they say that the second-hand market will surpass fast fashion. It will double the fast fashion market by 2030, and that tells you that in the next 7 years, not only are most people generally having a wake-up call everywhere, people are being more financially economical, being more smart with where they spend and being more sustainable, but also that this is a market and an opportunity to get into now. And you have 7 years until this market doubles. So there's definitely so much time and opportunity to really get a part of this. I want to use this space, this YouTube area, to kind of give you as much insight as I can based on the secondhand market, what I've experienced, but I want to build the picture. You know, if you're somebody who meditates, you know, it's all about setting a scene, calming music, building everything up slowly and in slow little parts to kind of take a bigger scope at the image. Join me on this journey through YouTube where we're really going to break down a lot of information about this topic, and over the course of the time I'm going to use these videos to go into more examples of how I would sell set products, showing you examples of what other things could be done, what apps you need to use, and so much more. And I've been Spencer Lyon, and this has been the stigma of secondhand, or whatever I ended up calling it. And I'm actually still wearing the same item. So if this video makes the cut and this one was good, light, camera, action.